Welcome back to the maintenance series on the X5. In today's video, we're going to take care of the front differential oil on the X5. Now, before we get to the actual procedure, I want to talk about which oil should you use on the front differential on this car. This will apply to any differential that's not a XM or that does not have performance driving package, which has the locking diff. All the other models have the open style differentials front and back. So this is the one that we're going to be working on today. Now, which oil should you use for the front axle of these X5s? In front of us here we have the BMW recommended oil, which is the high point axle oil G2, and next to it we have the Redline 75W85 weight GL5 oil. Which oil should you use? Well, the obvious answer would be the BMW one, but there's a little bit of problem with the BMW oil. Let me explain and give you some background why I have this Redline oil next to it. A couple years ago, when the BMW developed the F chassis models, they changed their line of differential oils, and what they did is they basically gave them their oil new designations. And this oil behind me here has a designation G2, which is spec'd out to be 75W85 weight, and it's a GL5 differential oil, and they only recommend using this oil. There will be no problem with that, but the main issue I'm having is with this oil is a bottle of this oil costs anywhere from about $75 to $80, and they only come in 500 milliliter bottles, and you need 2 of them to complete the service on the X5. So that's close to $160 just to do a differential change on an open diff differential, not even a locking diff, open diff differential on the X5, which is kind of ridiculous. And if you look at the rear oil, that's even more expensive. That's where the main issue comes into play. Is this stuff is like literally like gold, which there is no reason for it. Now the oil next to it, the Redline, which is the same weight, same rating, it's a GL5, costs about $20 a quart, which is roughly 946 milliliter, which is enough to perform this front differential oil change. Now, a couple of years ago, BMW got smart and designed their own line of differential oils with all these designations. There's about 4 designations that they have. The first one being a G1, which is a oil weight 75W85, but it's a GL4 oil. Then we have this oil here, which is a G2, which is this weight 75W85, and it's a GL5. Then there's a G3, which has a designation 70W80, and it's a GL5 as well. And there's a GL4 as well, which has a designation 75W80. Now, those aren't your conventional oil weights for the differentials. The most common ones are your 75W90. Now, reason they went through those lower weights is for fuel economy, which is fine. There's no problem with that. Not many companies actually make those oils in those weights. Now, Redline happens to be one of them that makes the alternative. For some reason, it's not listed as approved to use on a front differential. The way they try to trick you is, see, this original BMW oil has only listed G2 designation. There's no weights on it, nothing. So an uneducated person, they come up and see this, they say G2, and they, for example, start to look for alternatives online, and they come up short because there's no other designations like that for any other oils, because this is only internal BMW naming, so to speak. That's how they basically trick people into thinking that you could only use this oil. Now the reason I know is this oil is 75W85 and it's a GL5 is because actually some of the bottles list them and some of them don't. So like this one does not. Why do I say that this will work the same as the BMW one? Well, reason being is I've been running this oil for about 50,000 miles, so I know this works. There's no question about it. I'm not just standing here and giving you stories that I think gonna work. I know for a fact that this will work on your open differential. Now if we were changing oil on this car, for example, that'd be a different story, because that has a locking diff which is very sensitive, so you need to be careful. But there is no reason why you cannot use alternative like this in an open diff card. It does not make sense. So that's what I wanted to share with you about the front diff oils for this card. So there's not many options out there, but there is an option. It's an option that will save you a lot of money. With that being said, let's actually take a look what we need to complete the front differential oil. If you're doing this in your driveway, you need to get your front end in the air, so ramps work great. I added some extra wood below them. The only reason for that is because to have some better angles for the camera when I'm doing this video. But other than that, we're gonna be removing this middle steel or aluminum plate, should I say. It has 16mm bolts and there's some clips. So let's get to work. This is how it looks after you remove the thrust plate. This being a diesel, this has this warming blanket, which I don't believe is on the other gasoline models, which does not change anything. See, there's a hole for the drain plug here, and actually I don't think I could show you because it's not visible, but if you look at this mounting hole for the thrust plate, the fill plug is right above here. I could touch it with my fingers, which you could just slide in your wrench there and fill in the differential. I mean, you could take the blanket off and you could have a better view, but it's not necessary. Obviously you will need a drain pan and you will need a 14mm hex and a 14mm regular open style wrench, and I'll explain why in a second. This one is for both for the drain plug and the fill plug. There's a good picture of the fill plug right here on the side. You could see and get it from the other angle, but anyhow, so what you want to, before you start anything, you want to loosen that first, because you want to be able to put the fluid back in once you drain it, because that'll be a bad day. As you could see here, there's a very limited room here. So what you do is you put your 14mm hex in there, as you see right there, and then you take your open wrench and it will fit on it right here. See, it has enough room, and what you do is give it some force, and there it is. We have it loosened up. Just like that, you loosen up the fill plug. You could unbolt it. There might be some oil coming out once you unbolt it, so I'm gonna do the bottom one first, which is right here. It also 14mm. There's about 800mm that's gonna come out from the diff. Once it's drained, we put a brand new fill plug in and begin the filling process. Now you could do it plenty of ways. There's manual pumps, but I like to share my innovation with you. This is my power fill pump, which, boy, this simplifies the job 10 times if not more. I made this out of Home Depot garden sprayer. All I did was cut off the end and bought a valve, some fitting, and a clear pipe at the end, and all you do is pump this up. It builds pressure inside, open the valve and you could fill designated amount of oil inside the casing. Because trust me, I tried the manual pumps and it's always a mess. This is 10 times less stress and sweat that you have to put into this job. I mean, they sell these online, but they're usually much taller, and the nice thing about this is you could fit it under the car, which is nice. And all the other ones are tall and they usually cost upwards of 200 bucks. I made this for about 20 bucks. If you're interested, go get yourself one at Home Depot, get a valve, and you're pretty much set. Some plastic tubing, and that's it. The best way to fill this is actually to have the hose, if you're using something like this, pass through the outside, past the control arm, as you could see here. I'm not sure if you could see where the hose enters there. There's not much light. Let me see if I could shine a line on it. As you could see right there, it enters the casing, and all you do now is open the valve. Make sure you have your drain bucket below, because it's an overfill, so it will eventually overfill, and that's how you know it's full. Let's begin the fill process. Open the valve and the oil started to flow, and I'm not sure if you see it. You see it right here, and it should take about 800 milliliters. See, this simplifies the pump work. Oh, there it is. You close the valve and that's it. Let it drain, and you could reinsert the fill plug. To tighten the fill plug is the same procedure as with opening. You take your open 40 millimeter wrench, and all you do is place it on top and tighten down. Unfortunately, you cannot get a torque wrench in there, so you just kind of feel it, and should be good. And that's it. And all you do is put the thrust plate back. A little bit of paint to slide back in. To ease the job, you could just loosen these 8 millimeter bolts. That way you have more access on this side, and you could just slide it in, and then put the 16 millimeter bolts in. Torque spec on those is 56 plus 90 degrees. You could just call it 60 Newton meters. You should be fine, and that's it. With the front diff oil replacement completed, it's time to move on to the next item on the list, which is some suspension work. So be sure to check out that video. And as always, thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, hit a like, and I'll catch you in the next video.